Well, hello, friends. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Take 5. We are talking about the life and the trial of Job, and the title of our subject this week is simply this: do you still believe? That's a question that we have to be able to answer, because as Job found himself right in the midst of that pile of ashes, scraping himself with that piece of pottery, while that was going on, his wife asked him, do you still believe God? And he had to be able to give a response to that. And you and I do as well, because that's when that question is important. Right in the middle of our frustration and our hurt and our pain and our mourning and our grief and our sorrow, right in the middle of that, we have got to be able to answer that question. Do you still believe? The answer should absolutely be yes, we believe, but that's not always how we feel, is it? So we've learned some things already about our faith and how it must have the integrity to stand the test of time. What I want to do now is look at 7 things that we can learn from God and Satan's involvement in the calamities and the quandaries that were surrounding Job's life, and really every believer's life today. As we look at these 7 things over the next 3 days, I believe that these things should give us some hope, should give us some confidence in the sovereignty of God and the eternal plan of God that will never fail us. I think it will also help us to be able to answer that question, do you still believe God? I believe we'll be able to answer it with an absolute yes when we look at these things. So let's jump right into them. We've got to try to do a couple of them today in the little bit of time we have left. Number 1, Satan is accountable to God for his actions and his whereabouts. Now, I realize that we think that there is this constant battle going on between Satan and God, and they are, opposing forces in this world. They absolutely are. But I do want us to understand that Satan is not God's equal. You must recall that Satan is a fallen angel. Satan was cast out of heaven by God. He was not permitted to stay. So God was the victor then, and God will always be the victor over our adversary, the devil. And we need to understand that he's just not some free roaming spirit that's just doing whatever he wants. He has to answer to God. Job chapter 1 verse number 6 says, one day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came with them. So the angels have to present themselves before God. They have to give accountability of their actions. Fallen angels and the holy angels, they have to give an account for their actions. And so there's Satan right there. So apparently there are times, I don't know when it happens, I don't know how often it happens, but apparently there are times when angels, whether righteous or fallen, have to appear before God to give an account of their actions. That means that the devil is not some self-reliant free spirit that's floating around doing whatever he wants. He still has to answer to God. Verse 7, the Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan said, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Well, that's exactly what Peter described him as, a roaring lion, walking about, seeking whom he may devour. And that's what he was doing there. And so God says, what are you doing? What have you been doing? Where have you been? Now, let me tell you something. When God asks a question, it's not because he needs information. God doesn't need Satan to tell him. When God asks a question, it's because he expects all beings to give a personal account of their actions and whereabouts. Remember when he said, Adam, where art thou? Well, God knew exactly where he was at. When he asked Elijah in the cave, what are you doing here, Elijah? He knew exactly what he was doing there. He was given the opportunity for the individual to give an account for their life and actions, and that's what he was doing. God knew exactly where Satan had been. He knew exactly what he had been doing, and he simply forced the devil to report his actions before the throne of heaven. Number 1, Satan has to give an account to God of his whereabouts and actions. That should encourage us and help us to say we still believe when we realize that the devil has to answer to God. Number 2, God has a hedge built around every believer that Satan cannot cross unless he is given permission. So the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There's no one like him. Does he fear God for naught?" The devil said, "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You've blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land." Satan said, "I would have got him if I could. But you have this hedge built all around him. I looked on the top, the bottom, the sides, and every angle I searched, but I could not find a way to get in because you had this hedge around him." Now, God's hedge of protection around his people is not a literal wall of thorns like you would imagine in your mind, but rather we're surrounded by his holy presence and by his holy angels. Psalm 34 says, "The angel or the presence of the Lord encamps around those that fear him." Psalm 125 said, "As the mountains surround Jerusalem, the Lord surrounds his people now and forevermore." And Psalm 91 says, "Because you've made the Lord your refuge, even the Most High your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, no plague shall come near your dwelling. For he has given his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways." Friend, we are protected on every side from the attack of the adversary. God has made and given this promise of protection to his people over and over and over again. And we are safe in his hedge, inside his protection. And the devil must have permission before he can enter. This fact is proven even further in the New Testament in the words of Jesus when he says to Peter, "Simon, indeed Satan has asked for you that he may sift you as wheat." See, Satan couldn't even sift Peter as wheat unless he first asked God. So this is the great news. This is how we can still believe, even in the midst of trials, because we know that everything is playing out according to the hand and the purpose of God. And if Satan has got in, it's because God has given him permission. Now, there's only one other way that Satan can get through that hedge that God has around us. If God doesn't give him permission, only one other person can, and that's you. And we do that through willful disobedience and willful sin and willful rebellion. When we do that, we step outside of the hedge and we make ourselves an open target for the devil. Remember, from the very beginning, Satan had no authority in this world and in the life of Adam and Eve until they gave it to him. So we've looked at two things today that should make us be able to answer that question of, do you still believe? Number one, Satan has to give an account of his actions to God. And number two, God has a hedge of protection around us to keep us. And the only way Satan can get in is if God gives him permission or we step out and make ourselves an open target. Hey, I've got to get out of here. It's been good being with you today. I look forward to being with you tomorrow on Thursday's edition of Take 5. Until then, God bless you. Have a great day. Hey, trust the Lord, my friend. He will never fail you.